my mom and them, they had to sleep in here to make sure, I was okay. But that night I just cried and I was just like, God, how did I get here? I was like, mind you, I had given my life to Christ before then, but I was still not yielding to him and giving everything to him. Ever since then, that's when I took a full effect of taking over my healing journey and taking over, getting through it. I chose to not stop. And I was running. I kept running. But in that moment, I just saw how God's grace and mercy just spared me. And he kept me through it all.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode of the Beauty in You podcast. I'm super excited for our guest today, as she's going to take us on a journey of self-discovery and rediscovery and how to really utilize your past experiences into something positive to teach the world. We all need that. Our guest today is an author, podcast host, and media/communication student. She is passionate about storytelling, faith, and personal growth. She is the author of the book, Pain Raised Me, but Trauma Healed Me. Welcome to the Beauty in You podcast. Michaelia, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be here.
I am so excited for you to share your journey with my audience today. And I want to first say thank you for trusting me with your story and allowing me to now be a part of your journey as well.
Thank you. Thank you. It's not an easy thing to be about, having people that understand it and can be understand where you're coming from and understand where you are and see where you're trying to go and be willing to be a part of that. I'm always forever grateful for the people God has placed in my life that I am able to share my story with and grow and build a connection with. So I am glad that I was able to be in contact with you. And now I'm here on your show. I'm very just honored and grateful to be here.
So with that being stated, walk me through a little bit of your past journey, and we'll get into the lessons as we continue on.
So my past journey is just starting off. I've experienced domestic violence, physical, verbal, mental, and I've also experienced sexual assault. So my abuse story started when I was at the age of 6. My father was my first abuser. At the time I was a child, so I didn't really understand, manipulation and stuff like that. I was young and I was a daddy's girl, straight up daddy's girl from the womb. So, growing up, certain things he was doing, I didn't understand, but I really started paying attention around the age of 7 when he made this comment because he was mad at me, and he would get on his phone and pretend like he was talking to his quote unquote other daughter when I know I'm his only child. At the time, I didn't know that because, I was just born into a world. So when he did that, it just kind of made me look at him like, but that was our thing. We used to always go to the store, get all these type of toys and come back home and play like we were just 2 kids. So when he's telling somebody else he's going to do it better, than he's going to take them somewhere and get them whatever they want. And I'm just like, you love them more than you love me because you're mad at me right now. And I didn't understand the manipulation tactic. I didn't understand that because I was so young. But my thing was just do whatever you got to do to get back on his good side. And, I tried to be, the perfect daughter, did everything he asked me to do, thinking that would get him to be like, okay, let's go to the store. Okay, go back to how we used to be. Then he just kind of gradually went towards there. So then the next thing I just remember was him I was an active child. Well, first thing, I was an active child. I was in sports. I did, school activities, but I was on the step team in elementary school. And I had been on there for 3 years. So step team practice, what time I get out. And, I have step team practice every other day. And we normally got up by maybe 5 o'clock. And I'm just what time to pick me up. So this particular day, step team practice, it's normal, got out. He normally he's outside waiting on me. But this time he wasn't there. I was like, okay, maybe he ran a little bit late. Gave me 10 minutes, started calling him. No response. And then at the point, no response, went straight to voicemail. So I was calling and calling and calling, and I'm just like, what's going on? And then I just remember one of the other girls had left, and I was just me outside by myself, and my teachers were coming out. And they were just like, hey, where's your dad? And I'm just like, I don't know. So they were just like, okay, well, we'll wait out here with you. So then I called my mom. She was at work, but she didn't answer. So then I called my brother. And my brother, and I asked, I said, hey, have you seen Dad's car? And he was like, well, no. Why? And I was like, because, well, I'm out of step team practice and he hasn't picked me up. And then my brother's phone hung up. And I was just like, okay. So then I called my grandmother and I was like, hey, can you ask my brother to go outside and see if he sees my dad's car? And she was like, well, your brother's not in the house. He just left. And literally, she was like, wait, hold on. Let me try to call him. And she hung up. So then at this point, my brother was calling me. He was like, I'm on my way to you. Now, mind you, where my school was from my house, it was a nice, like to walk there, you would have to leave like 2 hours before to get to school on time. You have to pass like a big soccer field and go up a hill to get to my school. So, and at the time, my brother had walking pneumonia and he had the flu. Wow. So I could hear my brother walking across the soccer field, like coughing, struggling. He's like, I'm coming, I'm coming. And I'm just praying, like, Lord, don't let my brother pass out while he's trying to come get me and everything. So at this point, my grandmother's trying to call my brother. It's like, where are you at? He was like, I'm going to go get her. So then we're trying to call my mom. We're all like tag teaming trying to call her. Like, hey, this is what's going on. So when she finally got, word of what was going on, she was just like, well, no. So she's like, I'm on my way. So then my teacher was like offering me to give me a ride home, but my brother knew that could open up a door of an investigation because to them it looks like neglect. And he was just like, no, tell them like I'm coming. It was a slip up. And he said, but I'm on my way. So by the time my brother got to me, he like it was by my elementary was a church. He was standing on the side of the church. And he was like, just tell them like my car is over here and just walk over here to me. So they walked me across the playground. And then when they saw my brother, they was like, okay, you're good to go. So like we were sitting at the gas station, which was like across the street. And when we were sitting there, we were just like, Mama was like, if he calls you, don't answer the phone. I'm coming to get y'all. Okay. So then I could just see his car like driving up and down the street looking for me. And then my mom was just like, what was so important that you had to leave me? So like, wasn't I not important? And I'm your child. So from there, it just kind of like that two things were sticking with me. And then because my dad struggled with alcohol and everything, that became more important over than us. And like growing up, I just didn't, nobody could like, it's not like nobody wanted to tell me, but I knew when I had questions and my questions were like, why? Because now he's changing towards me and it's never been like that with me. I've always been like the apple of his eye, like his little child, like the one he used to pick up and carry all the time. Like now it done changed what's going on. And nobody was like really trying to explain to me or they didn't know how to explain to me. Like, it wasn't my fault. So I grew up thinking like, this is my fault. I must have did something wrong. So then it turned into like me being like doing anything to just to please people. I became a people pleaser.
Sure. Yeah.
So that was the hardest thing. So then going into like middle school, I was like a target for bullying because I had low self-esteem. I didn't love myself. I didn't really see myself as like, special because one person I did see as special no longer saw me as special. Even though I had like my mom, my brother, my granny, and other people that loved me unconditionally, important to me, it wasn't the person that I needed it from it to be to fill that void. Because now the void has started since the age of 6, and now here I am, 10 years old, with a much bigger void that is still I'm trying to fill with something. So I went to bullying for like maybe off and on for like a year. Then I switched to a new school. And when I switched to new school, I was happy, but sad at the same time because I still had a past that was still there. And I knew at this point my anger had started to build because nobody was answering my questions. Nobody was trying to like tell me, this is not your fault. This is going on. And I had went to therapy, but it wasn't really like, it was more of an anger management because I snapped one day because I was being bullied. And it was more looking at like, okay, can she come back to school? Is she a threat to people? And I was like, well, she's not a threat, but she's hurt. Yeah, she needs to continue to go to counseling. And like my school that I was going to at the time didn't really take that in consideration. They was like, yeah, we can talk to her every now and then just to do like a check-in because they failed to report bullying. They failed to do anything about it. So they only acted like, okay, we'll do the check-ins, making it seem like, okay, they're going to like now what they want to be concerned.
Right.
They really wasn't trying to play like they weren't concerned. So my mom said, after this year, you're going to a whole new school because this is just too much for you, and you need to have like a fresh start. A fresh start, like I said, yeah, I was happy because I was like, I can now make new friends, but at the same time, I was just like, well, how do I make friends? Because what I'm doing here, I don't know if I should do it there. So it's two different districts with two different type of versions of people. So you can't do what you did here over there because that's a whole nother group. I did the same thing. I wasn't bullied, but it was I feel like I was going through like an identity crisis because I didn't really know who I was. Everybody would tell me like, oh, you're this type of person. I'm like, oh, I guess I am this type of person because I wanted to like, and I did anything I could to fit in. At this school, this is where I met my first boyfriend. This is kind of where it trickled down and when I started to spiral because at such a young age, I was trying to date, trying to find love in all the wrong places because I wasn't getting the love that I wanted from my father. So I started looking for it in other places. And this is where I found my first boyfriend. And that relationship was toxic. It's on and off for 3 years. We really stopped dealing with each other like in our early like 20s. But I mean, it took me through so much like cheating and like that. And then I started like doing the same thing I had seen my parents do in the relationship, thinking like maybe this will make us stay together, but it wasn't making us stay together. We were just being more harm to each other than we were being a benefit. And after that part, I started spiraling because I'm just like, okay, it turned to like I became the predator to somebody else because I'm like, hurt people. And that's a true thing because I was hurting people because I was hurt and I wasn't dealing with my hurt and I wasn't dealing with the pain. So I continue to keep following the same cycle. And then after, like, it just went from teenager to now early adulthood. When we finally left the situation and we got out and we separated from my dad, it was like, I knew I was free, but my mind wasn't free. I was like, I feel like I was still living in the past because I'm just like, for so long, I felt like I was living in a box and I had dreamed of the day. Literally, I would dream every other night. I would dream about us like getting out of the situation where I could just come home and I don't got to worry about anything. Don't have to be worried about being called out my name. Don't got to worry about my stuff coming up missing. Don't got to worry about nothing. But it's just like some stuff had happened between in that time period that I did not know I needed to go through and address and heal from. So I know how to function as an adult because for 22 years, I was living in domestic violence. So transferring out of that, I didn't have that understanding. Like I need to go talk to somebody. I need to go talk about this because at that point, throughout that time, my dad, we had 3 physical altercations. And the last physical altercation we had, he punched me in my eye and blacked it for 3 days.
Oh my goodness.
That devastated me. In that mind, I'm like, okay. So, I mean, of course I knew it wasn't okay for a man to hit a woman, but I just really started to think it played a toll on me. I'm like, well, if a guy hits you like one time, it's not
Is
that
it okay? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, it's not that bad. And then like that time, like my aunt and them, they were like telling me, no, one time is it should be the last time. It shouldn't even be a before then. But that one is the last. You don't go back, you don't do none of that. I'm just like, but still, I mean, it was just like it played on my mental. And then, I suppressed it. I suppressed every feeling because every day was a battle. And I suppressed until I became numb to pain. So I didn't know what pain felt like. And at this point, pain turned into trauma. And because I kept suppressing it, I became numb to it. So I had all these feelings, all these different things that I had not dealt with. Now I'm taking into an adulthood, which is now a whole nother ball game. Because when we transition out, I'm just like, and I had those feelings. I was like, do I go back and I want to deal with it? Or can I just try to live my life now that I'm out of it? Which, like I said, I felt like I was living in a box.
Right.
So now I'm just like, I'm free. I can really do what I want to do. So that freedom what really got to me. That freedom, because I didn't know how to deal with it. So I started hanging out with people, started going out, and then my mom gave me like a curfew and everything, which was like, to me, I'm like, what it was, I'm just like, oh, I'm getting to a lot. And still being home by this time, that's good. But because my mom saw the mistakes I was making and she saw what I was getting into, she was like, you need to stop. Like, you need to calm down. I'm like, don't do that. I said, for 22 years, I have been living in a box. I have not had a chance to live and fully experience freedom like this. I said, I got a car now. I can go and come as I please. I said, as long as I make it home by the time you tell me to, that's all that should matter. And the more she told me I couldn't do something, the more
Or you wanted to do it.
I'm going to do it
Yeah.
now, because now you're telling me I can't do it. And I know I can do it, because the words "I'm grown" became my best friend. I was just like, I'm grown now. I can do this. And then still everybody was telling me, you need to stop, you need to slow down, you need to go through this, you need to process some things. I'm just like, y'all just trying to stop me from living. Y'all don't understand what it feels like. And like my dating game scene, I mean, it was iffy at, but this particular night, my mom and them had already told me not to go on this date. And this is the date that changed literally my entire life. And I went because I'm just like, still, they're like, y'all just trying to stop me from living. Y'all just don't want me to be free. And I'm over here I'm trying to live in this new ball game. So literally went out that night and got assaulted. That changed everything. It was like all the past pain and trauma. Now I had to go through it. But it's like, at first, like I was dealing with it. I was talking to all these different, I had to go to all, it was the first 2 weeks after the assault was hard, because I had to go to all these different doctors, talk to all these different therapists, and I had a meeting with this person, a meeting with that person. I'm just like, it was just too much to deal with at that time. And I'm just like, I don't know how to feel. And of course, like I knew it wasn't my fault because I said no and I fought to get out. So I knew it wasn't my fault. But at the same time, I'm just like, but I went there. And I didn't want to report it at first because I knew they would blame the women. Because, oh, what did you do? Why were you there? Yeah. And
Victim
I'm just like,
blaming.
and I knew that's what they were going to do. And I was just like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to put myself through that and everything. And my cousin is the one who convinced me to tell her. She was just like, you can't let nobody get away with doing it to you because you were lucky to get out. The next person may not be so lucky. You said you could save somebody else's life. And I'm just like, you know what? Okay, I'll do it. Like I said, those first 2 weeks was so traumatic. And it got to the point where I got tired of talking about it. I just wanted it to be over. And I'm just like, I'm asleep right now. I'm in a dream. I'm going to wake up from this dream one day. And I'm like, every day I thought, is this the day I'm going to wake up? Is the day I'm going to wake up? And it never came. I started seeing this therapist, and throughout this journey that my therapist was talking to me, and he was just telling me, like, do you really want to change? Because this is up to you. Because I wasn't taking it seriously. And everything. And he was just like, do you really want to change? She said, because at the end of the day, this is your life. And you could continue to live your life the way you want to live it, or you could try to do something about it. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't feel like doing that. So I didn't I said, because I had got so far, I got tired of talking about it. And he kept wanting to bring up like old stuff my dad did. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm not here to see you about that. I'm here to see you about this situation so I could get better. He's like, before you can heal from that, we got to go back to the root of the problem. And we got to get there. And I'm just like, I don't want to talk about that. So that made me stop going because he wanted to do that. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. So then because of that, like I said, I was so numb to it. And I had emotionally, I had shut down. To where I was like, you know what? I can't take nothing. Anything I did was to numb the pain. So I started drinking. I started smoking. I started partying. And I started doing that to help me cope what I was going through, instead of just giving it to God, surrendering to God, and really just giving it to him. I'm like, no, this is just too much. And it's like, one particular day, I literally almost lost my life because I went to a party. It wasn't a party, it was like a tailgate. It was like my homecoming tailgate. I went with them. I went with some friends and was drinking. And then all I remember, that night I came home, I had called one of my friends and she started telling me I started hallucinating. I started telling her there was an octopus coming out of my ceiling. I started telling her the floor was moving. She said it got to the point where I started telling her, I just want to die. So she knew something was wrong. So she was just like, you're going to have to be mad at me, but I'm going to have to call somebody to come because I'm too far to get to you. So my aunt, she said she called me and she was just like, hey, what's going on? And I'm just like, she could tell I was out of it. So by the time she ended up getting to me, I was like, I could barely walk. I was falling down the stairs to get to the door. And by the time I opened the door, that was it. The next thing I remember, I woke up in the hospital. All of my family and friends was just around me praying. And I was just like, what happened? And they were telling me, of course, people were telling me what had happened. And I had people telling me, well, this is what happened before then. And then it was just a lot. And I felt like at that point, everything had caught up with me. The pain, the trauma, the hurt, everything I was running from and trying to like numb myself to had all caught up to me. And I
Mm-hmm.
was just like, I can't keep, it was so rough. And then that night, we came home, I was just crying. And I was like, my mom and them, they had to sleep in here to make sure, I was okay. But that night I just cried. And I was just like, God, how did I get here? I was like, I knew, and I like, mind you, I had gave my life to Christ before then, but I was still not yielding to him and giving everything to him. So I was like, God,
Mm-hmm.
how did I get here? Like, I'm like, why did I just allow it? Like, why didn't I just stop? Why didn't I just listen? Like, how did I get here? And in that moment, it was just like I had a real moment where I had to get real with myself. I said, you know what, God, if you help me from this day forward, I'll be committed. I actually said yes and meant it that day.
Yeah.
So ever since then, that's when I took a full effect of taking over my healing journey and taking over getting through it. And it wasn't an easy process, especially like it wasn't like an overnight quick thing. Because the
Mm.
next day I was faced with the after effects, the pain of falling and everything and not remembering. My blood sugar dropped so low that it was like 50 or 40. So it was
Wow.
dangerously low. So
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just like, I literally could have died.
Yeah.
I chose to not stop. And
Yeah.
I was running, I kept running. But in that moment, I just saw how God's grace and mercy just spared me and he kept me through it all. So in that time, I was just like, you know what? I went back to my therapist. I had to make an appointment. I was like, I'm ready to make a change. I'm ready this time. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm just like, I'm sure. He's like, first, I'm going to start by writing a letter to yourself and let everything out in that letter. Writing that letter was the hardest thing I could have ever done my
Yes.
entire life. That was the hardest thing because I was just like, the first day was like, what do I say to myself? What do I tell myself? And like, I addressed it to the little girl in me that all she wanted to do was just be loved by her father.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that first page, like that first part I wrote to her when I was writing to her, I just kept crying.
Yep.
I was like, it's not your fault that he couldn't give you the love he was never shown. It wasn't your fault that he chose this over you. It wasn't your fault that nobody could explain it to you. It wasn't your fault some people were trying to spare you from it because they knew the pain and they knew what it felt like. It wasn't your fault that you had to experience it. But what is like now is the time for you to change. And like in
Mm-hmm.
that moment, I had to make a decision. I said, I have to let this little girl go because the older girl in me is the older
It's
me, the
trying to
more
come out.
mature me, she's trying to come out. And she can't come out with this little girl tagging on me all the time. And then during that time, he would just have like, think about those moments. Like, in my grandmother, rest her soul, she was very big on keeping it real, which is why Just Keep It Real is now here.
Yes.
She was really big on being very transparent, being brutally honest at times, but she felt like the truth is better than a lie. And she
Mm-hmm.
really felt like it was important to be honest. And certain sometimes she told me some things that really helped me understand and was able to help me to forgive not just my father, but forgive my mother because I had some hurt, I had some anger towards her because like you allowed it for so long. Why
Mm-hmm.
did you not get us out sooner? Like you at least got me out because you knew what the damage it was doing to me. I said, I understand for you to figure it out. I said, but you could at least got me out. But when
Right.
my grandmother began to explain to me the generational curse that was on the women and the stuff that they went through, it made me understand that's all she knew.
Yes.
And like it helped me to see it and forgive her. I'm like, you know what? I forgive you because at the time you did the best you could.
Good. Yep.
And you that's all you knew. And part of you didn't want to give up, but you knew you had to. And you didn't know what to do. I can forgive you for that because you really just didn't know and you did the best that you could.
Mm-hmm.
But having those conversations with her and then having going through therapy and having, my spiritual leaders talk to me, it really helped me in my throughout my healing journey.
Yeah.
And then while dealing with that and still dealing with the criminal court case, that was a different toll because I'm just like, I kept telling everybody, I feel like I'm not living life because I still got something from the past that's still holding on to me.
Mm-hmm.
Of course I didn't drink anymore. Of course I didn't do anything I used to do anymore. So I said, but this is the only thing that has me holding. I feel like that's holding me back is this
Mm-hmm.
criminal court case because this happened to me. In the beginning of the year, I said, I just want this to be over. I just want to live. I just want to be free. And like in the beginning years, we were preparing for trial. We had all these pre-trial meetings and everything. We had a school hearing went in my favor. Now the court hearing, it was always a give and take. because it was like, it's a typical he say, she say case. I
Mhm.
don't like using that word, but legally that's the term for it.
Right.
But it was just like, we can win and we can lose. I said, but my biggest thing was I wasn't doing it because I felt like he still had some type of power over me. Because that school hearing, it was virtual, so I couldn't really, see you. I could see you, but it's like I feel like I gave in because I was still like I had a ripple effect after that,
Mhm.
spiraling after that because it was hard to deal with. So I'm just like, this time I'm taking back my power.
There you
I'm gonna have
go.
to I'm gonna sit in that courtroom as hard as it's gonna be for me to look at you and be 20 feet away from you and knowing what you did that night. I said, I'm gonna have to do it. I mean, yes, it may cause me to like trickle and it may trigger some things in me, but I know I gotta go through it to show that you didn't break me. I'm still standing. So
Mhm.
throughout that became my mindset. And then when we like literally the week before trial, when they told me we were going to trial, I was like, I don't want to go to trial. But I had to think about the bigger picture. I was
Mhm.
like, I'm stronger than what I think I am. I said, Michaelia, you were strong enough to fight and go through it and push your way out. And if you could do that, you can sit there, do this 3 days of trial and tell your story in front of people you don't know and show him that he didn't break you. Like you're able to do that. You're stronger than what you think you are. So
Mhm.
I had to really get to praying and get some fasting in because I was just like, geez, it's gonna be a fight. And I don't know how I'm gonna
Yes.
do it, but I'm gonna do it. And like I said, the week before trial, my prosecutor was telling me we got a meeting so he could walk me through and everything. I said, okay. I was preparing for that, and then he told me, he was like, well, hold on. His attorney wanted to make an offer. The first offer they did was nowhere near what they wanted the charges were, and he was just like, no, we're not taking that. So then, like, not within 5 minutes, I had talked to my mom. She said, Michaelia, we just gonna pray. She's like, maybe this is the only time. I said, but no, I feel like I'm still fighting, Mom. I'm trying to get my voice heard. She
Mhm.
said, well, Michaelia, sometimes if we get to trial and you don't win, what are you gonna do? It's like, even if I don't win, it's the fact that it was different for me
Right.
because I knew I faced you. You have nowhere to run. I
Mhm.
faced you. We're in a courtroom. I faced you. Like, even if I don't win, I knew I'm already winning because I'm victorious in Christ. So I knew I already won, but I need to beat this battle. And this is the only thing I need to do. So I was like, okay, we just gonna pray. And if it's not meant for us to go to trial, we're not gonna go. I was getting ready to tell my prosecutor, go ahead and let him take the deal. This is the only way we can do it. But then he called me, he was like, no, he's gonna take this charge. What they were actually trying to charge him with, he pled guilty to. So I didn't even have to go to trial. So I
Wow.
was just like, Lord, I thank you. Cause I was like, oh, like you knew. And at that point, I felt so free. I didn't know how to feel. I said, because for a whole year, I've been dealing with this court case, and I took it into the beginning of the year. So
Mhm.
even in the beginning of the year, I couldn't really be free because I knew February came around the corner. It was February was the time we were supposed to go to trial. So after the trial, I had talked to my therapist, and he was like, how did you feel now that the trial you don't no longer have to worry about it? And I was just like, I don't know how to feel. And he's like, that's completely fine. He
Mhm.
said, you don't have to have a feeling today. He said, but you just know, even if you didn't win, but you won. Because at the end of the day, he knows. Only two people know what happened with that night. And it's you two. And he's like, you were, and the fact that you were willing, he said, but because every time they came up with a meeting that we had, it was always, he didn't want to take the deal. He didn't want to take the deal because he thought she was going to give up.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were willing to take it that far and you knew what you were going to do, you showed him
Mhm.
that you were stronger. So even if you didn't go to trial, you still beat him.
We still won.
You still won because you
Still won.
showed you showed, and I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. So after that, it was just healing journey has been up and down, but I have loved every moment of it.
Mhm.
Learning myself all over again. There's so many things I learned about myself that I
Oh
didn't
my, that
even
you
know.
didn't know. The healing journey is it's very special. It's hard. You cry a lot. You deal with stuff
Yes.
you don't want to deal with. You learn how to be completely honest with yourself first. You learn self-awareness, then the rediscovery part. And I call it rediscovery because all the awesome things that come from your healing journey were already there, like in you, right? So you're not really discovering anything. You're just rediscovering. You're just allowing those things to now come out because you have suppressed everything for so long. and you don't really know who you are. You're just like, I don't really know really what I'm doing here. I just know I'm in a lot of pain. I don't really know what to do. And then once you start to heal and learn the power of your voice, learn the power of self-expression, then it's like, oh, I like to do this. Oh, I like to do that. Oh, this is awesome, right? So you start to enjoy the benefits of the healing. But it is a process. When I hear your story, I'm like, girl, you just walked through the whole thing. Yes, from beginning, because whenever I get a client, they always want to start. So my framework is heal, the word heal, but it's honesty, expression, awareness, and light. And they always want to start in the light. And I'm like, negative. We're not going to the light because we got to go back to the honesty part. And that's the part that nobody wants to go to. Nobody wants to start from the beginning. Nobody wants to start from the honesty, because when I take you in the honesty journey, we're going back to your childhood. We're going back to your childhood. What happened from 0 to 3? What happened from 3 to 7? What happened from 7 to 10? I need to know, because a lot of those things, those events that occurred during that time has shaped you to the person that you are. And you're now taking, like you said, all of those past traumas, those pains, those situations into your adulthood, and you never dealt with it. It's just there. It's like this crazy looking ball, and it's just there, and you're carrying it, and you struggling, girl, because it's heavy, and you rolling over into adulthood, and you're like, oh Jesus, now what I'm supposed to do with this? Because I didn't even deal with that then. And it becomes this crazy thing. You start spiraling. Again, you're going through adult life, like some real adult stuff, but you never do, and you don't know what to do. And so that honesty part is so important. We have to start there. We have to dig into those past traumas, no matter how hurtful they are. We have to go there, because if we don't address it and learn to heal from that, the journey never really ends. I talk a lot about breaking generational curses. Like, we got to break the curses. It starts with us. We have to heal. We have to heal who we are, no matter how long it takes. We have to put in the work. We have to heal. We have to know the power that we have. We have so much power. Okay. And we have power, not just as women, but as Black women. I want to be clear about that. We don't have to accept all those bad things that happen to us, because somewhere in society says the Black woman can just handle all types of stuff. And we just supposed to, and we're not supposed to talk about it. And we're not supposed to have our day in court, or we're not supposed to use our rights accordingly. Everyone else can, but we can't as the Black woman. We're just supposed to allow it to happen. That's not true. We have a voice. We are deserving of all things. We are worthy. We are confident. We are beautiful. You understand what I'm saying? And so your journey, when I hear it, I'm like, yes, girl. Yeah, girl, you're right about that. Your therapist is right. He is right to put the onus back on you. You want to look, I'm going to be here all day. You want to not. I'm going to get paid. So either you're going to make the decision to change, or you're going to continue to spiral. And if you continue to spiral, girl, I don't know if you're going to be able to come back to my couch. You understand what I'm saying? And so those are those hard moments, those difficult moments, and those choices that we have to make. But I will say one thing about that healing journey, which is proven in your story, is when you're ready. When you're ready. When you're deserving. When you're worthy. Like, this ain't it. Like, I thought this was cool. Yeah, I got this time. I'm gonna be different. I got you. No, for real, this time, right? But it's only when you're ready. It's only when you're ready. That box is real. We put ourselves in this box and we hang out there because it's comfortable, and we know it's not really right. Like, we ain't supposed to be up in this box, but you know what? It's kind of cozy up in here. So I'm about to hang out in this box. I'm gonna peek out and say, "Ooh, that looks cool over there." But you know what? I'm a little scared. I don't even want to stay in this box, right? So you just hang out in the box, and all the bad things are happening in this tight box. You need to get out. But that moment of that feeling, that suffocation, and being like, you know what? Oh, I can lift this lid and step out into something greater. I'm ready to now do that. That's our power that we have. And that's when we know we're great and we're destined for more. So that is your story. It's like, yes, girl, yes. It was tough. It was rough. It sucked. I got you. But look at what you're going to be able to do from this now. Look at what you're already doing from this now. Look at what you're creating. Think about how many people are listening right now to your story, and they're like, oh, that's me. And she's able to now share her story, and she's able to write her book, and she's able to have a podcast, and she's doing what I wish I could do, but now I know I'm able to do.
It has been such a journey. And that's like you said, that just the power. And that's what I learned during my, like the power that I had and knowing the voice that I had. And like, I always knew I had a testimony, but going about it and really talking about it, I did not know like sky was the limit for me. It's always been the limit. And I was like, I can't believe I wasted so much time, like not embracing it, not, it's not even time wasted, but it was like delayed time, preparation time. I had to get through it to be able to talk about it. I had to heal from it to be able to be so vulnerable about it. And that was the one thing I'm just like, you know what? I'm still on my healing journey. Like it just finished thing, but just learning, like I said, that rediscovering the stuff that was there. I love to talk. Like I did not know that was about me because I was so antisocial during high school and college. I was so antisocial. I only talked to like a few people and that was it. I did not know I had such an outgoing, bubbly personality and I had suppressed that so much to when I started like, really enjoyed talking. Like I really enjoyed talking to people and like getting to know new people. Like I loved that. And I was like, I didn't even know I didn't know you had that in me.
You were protecting yourself. You were protecting yourself. You were going through a lot. And so it's easier to say, I don't really fool with them like that. My circle's small. But you're really protecting your heart because you don't want any more pain. If I let them in, then do I have to share that pain side? Are they going to hurt me too? So no, I don't really like talking to y'all like that. I only talk to them.
But the people over there sometimes wasn't the best people for me either. But like I said, we talk about being comfortable. I was so comfortable in that little box. And I'm just like, I could expand my box a little bit. But it's like, no, you need to get up out of the box. Like we say, get up, like lift the box up and come out and step into like where you just start walking. And like, don't even put yourself in a square or rectangle or circle, none of that. Just walk. And I was just like, it was hard. And like that after I wrote that letter and I took it back to my therapist and he said, okay. He started highlighting certain things that we're gonna work on this first. And the first thing was forgiveness.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I had to learn, like, of course, when you forgive other people, it was a little bit different. But the main thing I struggled with was forgiving myself. And he took me. I was like, I said, can we skip this? Like, we gonna go back through it. I'll see you next week for our session. We gonna talk about it. I like my therapist. He keep it real with me. He be like, we gonna get through this. Because listen, what you want to do? You want to have this. You want to have that. He's like, he had me write all my goals and everything I wanted to do. He said, for you to do all this, the type of level of vulnerability you're going to have to be able to sit on people's couches and tell them what you've been through and be open about it and then give them insights of how to heal from it. He said, you know what type of stuff you've been to do? He said, you're going to have to get yourself all the way together.
All the way.
All the way together. Can't nothing be lacking.
But go come here no more.
I said, listen, I'm switch therapists, switch them. But it was such an amazing thing. When I learned how to forgive myself, it took me a minute because certain things I just felt like was so unforgivable that I did. And because I knew better, because I knew what I was supposed to be doing, I knew it wasn't pleasing to God. I had to like, Michaelia, if God can forgive you, you can't forgive yourself, higher than He is. So you're going to have to do it. It took me time. But I just remember, like, I kept carrying it. I was like, I really just want to let this go. When I finally was able to forgive myself because of the place that I was, I said, who you were then is not who you are now. And the person you are now won't go back and make these same mistakes. You are a whole nother person. So I was able to look at that and I forgave myself from it. And ever since then, that weight is no longer on me. I have been flying off take it off. I mean, there's some things I'm still working on that, triggers and different things that, I'm now having to learn. But one thing I definitely learned is boundaries and enforcing them and keeping them, be standing firm on them. And he's like, some people, they're going to walk away because they're not going to understand, boundaries. And some people, when I started pressing God, just start removing them people out of my life. Because, I'm the type of person, like, if I can't walk away from them, make them walk away from me. Because at this point, I don't need them in my circle if they just gonna cause more harm to me. And I'm trying to do better for myself. So at this point, I was just like, people just started falling off the wayside. And the people that was falling, I never knew it would be them. The ones that be like, I'm here for the end, and they gone. It's like when He always takes away, He always replaces with something better. And the people He's replaced, the people that left me with, are like so much better. Like, I mean, them were literally my other sisters.
Yes.
I could call on them and we're right in the same, we are all going through the same thing. And the more people I like meet and the more people I talk to, the more easy it's for me to share my story and be more vulnerable about it. And now the fact that I've taken everything and I've wrote a book about it, that was like, that's a major accomplishment to be 24 and have a whole book out.
You're a published author.
I'm still trying to get used. I'm still trying to get used to hearing author like in front of my name. When you introduced me, I was like,
me? Yes, you.
It's hard to accept. I mean, it's not hard to accept, but it's just like, what?
Accept it because you did this. This is your hard work. This is your healing journey. This is what everything that from this point on, everything you speak will come true. You've done the work. You've done the work. You did the hard. Healing is the hard part. We're always healing. It's a circle. We're healing constantly. We're learning how to deal with situations as they come up. We understand ourselves a little bit more now. We know what it takes. So it's going to always be that healing journey. But everything you speak positively into your life, you are going to make happen. Okay. This is not going to be your last book. There's going to be many, many more. I'm going to look up and be like, yeah, I told her that. I knew that. I know that. Remember that interview we had? Yeah. Come back on the show. We got to talk.
Yes, we got to talk about it.
Because, you did this. So I want you to be very proud of yourself, which you sound like you are. Continue to be proud of yourself. Continue to push. We higher than the sky, girl. There's a whole space and galaxy and all them things up there. Like we going above and beyond. So don't pigeonhole yourself. Keep living, keep dreaming, get on these stages, tell your story. You're doing great. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. I'm proud of where you're going and you're setting an example. Someone is listening like, I'm about to write that book. Yes. If she can do it, you can do it. It's not easy. I like the honesty. Yes, she's right. It is not easy. This healing journey is hard. It is difficult. It is scary. Let's be real. And it takes a long time to get to the points to where we are. However, it can be done. And that's the important part, is to recognize that it can be done. Hard work, dedication, whole bunch of tears, whole bunch of journaling, all the things. People leaving, we growing, we scared. Oh, it's so worth it.
It's so worth it. And then one thing I have to learn, loving yourself, that's self-love. When I went through my self-love journey, I mean, I was never the type of person that like to go out by myself and go shopping by myself. I always wanted to be with somebody. But literally, when the first time I took myself on a date, I was like, oh,
this is nice.
This is nice. And then when I see the bill, I'm like, oh, this is even better. That's it. Then like I started taking myself out, like going to the mall by myself, just shopping and just having a good, that's self-love. When you love yourself and you don't have to look to nobody else, that's a different type of love. The two important things I learned about self-love is like understanding the love I have for myself, loving myself enough to not let myself go through the same things I went through, and understanding the love God had for me, which is far better than how I can love myself. So when I really understood his love for me and really like started accepting his love for me, I was like, just that rediscovering that self-love and getting to know myself all over again, learning the Michaelia now, not the Michaelia who this person said was, not knowing the Michaelia that person said was, not knowing Michaelia that used to do this, but the Michaelia now. That was the most amazing journey. Like nowadays I may take myself out to get pedicure or something, but just that time alone by yourself, you ain't got to hear anybody listen, I'm telling you, take yourself on a date. I mean, go out, like get full head to toe dressed up like you're going out with somebody and go by yourself and see how you feel. I'm telling you, I got all the way dressed up. I had heels on and everything. Took myself to a nice restaurant, had me a nice meal. It's just that time with yourself, you just get to experience it. And sometimes self-love is the best love you can get because nobody can love you like you love yourself.
Exactly. And then you learn how to tell others to love you. Like I'm worthy of more. That's no longer acceptable to me because I know how to love myself and I understand the type of love that I deserve. So self-love is so important. And when you hear words like self-love or I love myself, or it's hard to love myself, or like self-love is like the easiest words to hear and the hardest thing to do because of the blame or the shame. And all of the things, what things we've heard growing up and things that just stick with us. Negative things stick to us so easily. The positive things is what's hard to keep around, right? So
Right.
when we go through that self-love journey, it's like, okay, like what's going on? But once you get it, boo, once you understand it, and once you start
Yes.
setting boundaries with it and, understanding your peace
Mhm.
and happiness that go along with that, you definitely become a new person. And again, that voice is born. It's so important to know your power and understand the power of your voice. Like if I tell you no, then it's no. Like that's it. Are you coming? No. Can you do
No.
this? No. Can you help
No.
me? No. That's it. I really don't have to say nothing else after that because I just told you the whole sentence. So again,
Yeah.
understanding your power and your voice, it definitely goes a long way, especially in that self-love part of your
Mhm.
journey.
Yes. Ooh, learning the word no, that's another thing. You got, oh, and sometimes people like, let's go out. You're like, oh no, I have plans. And they're like, what plan? Your plans could just be sitting in your room watching TV. It's
Oh,
your
goodness.
business. But you got plans to be by yourself. There's nothing wrong with saying no and setting boundaries. The important thing is to set boundaries and be stern with your boundaries.
Yeah.
Because some people are going to challenge your boundaries.
Mhm.
And some people say, well, you should understand. And you're like, no. And when you learn and we finally have peace and you've discovered and you got that peace in you and the peace is living inside of you, at all costs, you're going to want to protect that type of peace.
Yeah.
And that anything is somebody's gonna try to come to disturb your peace. And you're gonna have to make some hard decisions. And
Mhm.
sometimes I hate to say it, sometimes it may be your family you're gonna have to cut off.
Yes.
That's the hard
That's the
that's the
truth,
harsh word.
though.
That's the hard shit about it. I have to learn that. I'm still learning it. I'm being real. I'm still learning that. But when nothing is more valuable than your peace
Mhm.
of mind, and you don't got to worry about nothing. Nothing and nobody is worth that type of peace. So you're
Mhm.
gonna have to be willing to make them hard. Like, you know what? I love you, but I gotta love you from a distance because you disturb my peace. And
Yeah.
the peace that I got right now, it took a long time for me to get to this point and to be so comfortable at this point. And I'm not gonna let you disrupt it because you ain't got yourself together. You can't come disrupt what I got going on. Well, me and the Lord is over here working on. You can't disrupt.
You can't do that.
You gotta make that boundary. You gotta make that you can do that. I mean, I had to do it. Like some people, I'm still, like I said, still hurting. But like I said, on this healing journey, it's never completed. You're not gonna be
Never.
fully completed, healed until you leave this earth and you go be with the Lord. You is
Yes.
never gonna have that completion. But you could at least be better than where you were. And that's what it's about, being better and making a difference because somebody's watching you.
Yes.
And you got to be the example for somebody else. Like I said, breaking that curse, it starts with you. You got to break the curse for the younger generation. All they have is what they look up to. And if they see you do it and they see it's okay for you to do it, they're going to want to do it.
Right.
So with me, I had to understand that there's people, the younger generation that's coming up underneath. And I have a younger sibling, and like she watches everything that I do. And I'm like, you know what? I want to be better for her because I want her to see me persevere. I want her to see me make it. And I want her to know there's no limits to what it. If I could do it, you could do it. And
Mhm.
maybe you could go further than me, but you could do it. Don't let nothing hold you back. And that's the main thing.
It is the main thing. I want to thank you so much for being a guest on the podcast today. You have been amazing. Your story has been amazing. And like I said, I am super proud of you. Can you let the audience know where they can find your book and where they can find you on social media?
On Instagram, and on TikTok, it's the real Michaelia. So the real Michaelia is spelled Michaeliaa. And you can find my book on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles. I do have a local book signing that is coming up. I also have some updates for tours. So you guys stay tuned for that. But all my information will be on my main Instagram. You can also follow my show, Just Keep It Real, at the Just Keep It Real show on Instagram.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm going to ensure that I link everything that she just said in the show notes so it's easy for you to get to. All right, you guys, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit that bell and subscribe. And if you're listening to this, wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure you drop that review. All right, you guys, until next time.